Hi, and welcome to the first feature walkthrough of the ShotPad beta. Really happy to have this app in the world now and being tested by many of you. A lot of time has gone into building the app, and I'm really happy to be sharing it with you now. If you're brand new to ShotPad, it's an all-in-one place to creatively and logistically plan your film shoot, specifically designed for directors and DoPs. I, as a cinematographer, was kind of sick of bolting together lots of different apps and tools to try and keep myself really organized in prep and be able to share all the right information with my collaborators. So I decided to go out and build the tool that I wanted to have available to me in prep. And I've been using it on shoots, and it's been really great so far. So let's walk through the interface a little bit. I'll show you some of the features. Starting in the top left, we have the project picker. So this is where we can create a new project or pick from an existing project. We can also, on Mac, we can come to the file menu and import a project. And I'll show you where we can export project files later on. On iPad, it's the little three-dot menu in the top menu here to import a project. Also in the file menu, you've got a clear all projects. That will pop up with a dialog to check, but that will clear all project files. So really be careful with that. That's sort of mostly for kind of debugging and like test builds. That may not be there in the final version, I think. Currently, you can't delete projects from here. That will be a feature we add. You can edit the project name like that. And yeah, as I said, then you just click on the project that you want to open. You've then next to it got the scene picker. This is where we add and rename scenes. So we can come in here and change the name of this. If we wanted to give it a different name, we could say Interior Catherine's House. We could give it a little more info on the so you can tell which scene's which. If you're doing a feature and you've got hundreds of scenes in here, we can also add a scene from here. This panel is not quite correctly formatted on Mac, finding bugs as we're doing this. And yeah, you can add your interior, exterior, your name. It must have a name. It won't let you create it. So we could put in and say, we'll do a kitchen scene, we'll do a night scene, and we could put a description in here and then create the scene. But I'm going to go back to this demo scene I've got set up here. And this is a basically duplicate scene button. So if we wanted to create another scene in this lounge room, and we've already built it, we've put all the furniture in there, we could just hit this and we'll have a duplicate of that. And it'll increment to the next available scene number. And then we could go in and we can edit the scene numbers. We could say, actually, this is scene 2, this is scene 3, like that. Okay, and what we will have in future is the ability to duplicate but only take over the scene information, so not take with us like the cameras and the actors. That's coming very soon. I'm just going to go back to scene 1. So in the top right hand side, we've got our views picker. We'll go through each of the views a little bit later on, but this is where you access them. We've then got our export button. So here we can export in lots of different formats, and there's probably some more coming as well. We can do a CSV of the shot list. We can do a scene report PDF, which I'll talk about a little bit more later on. We can do a JPEG of the canvas itself with your sort of top-down plan. We can export a project file here for sharing with collaborators. We don't have cloud sharing yet. It is coming. But for now, this is the way to share your project file with your collaborators. And also to share it if you've got a Mac and an iPad, you can share between the two. It's the same project file for both. You can export a mood board from here, and we'll talk more about mood boards. You can export your storyboards from here, and you can also export an equipment list. And all of these have some of these have lots of options. So like equipment list, for example, we can go in and select what categories we want to include. So do have a dig into these and check out all the different options. This looks like it's sort of project sharing. At the moment, that's just a placeholder. That will be where you can control project sharing in the future. But yeah, it is just a placeholder image at the moment. You can't actually do anything with it. So below that in our control bar, we've got the 2 layers. So so every scene that you create in the canvas here, this is the canvas, will have a scene and a production layer. Automatically, things like walls, furniture, props all go into the scene layer, and cameras, actors, and lights go into the production layer. But you can, we'll see later on, you can manually select which layer you want things to go into. And then what you can do is you can lock each layer. So in this case, that means that we now can't edit, we can't go in and make any changes to the walls. So we can't select the walls. We can't make any changes to the furniture. And we can still select on wall objects, which is a bug, which will get fixed quite soon. And ditto with production layer, we can turn that off so we actually can't affect the cameras and lighting and actors production layer. And obviously we could turn off both, so then it's sort of in a read-only mode. Next, we have a grid that we can turn on and off. The grid is sort of designed to be a 1 meter scale. So each square is 1 meter, and we've largely scaled all of the default object sizes to reflect that grid. And you'll see there's some objects that actually have a scale that you can set, and they adhere to the grid. But you don't have to create things to scale. Obviously, I don't think this scene is particularly created to scale. It's just created to the background image. We can snap. So if we turn the grid on, we can snap objects to the grid. If I add a camera, that will snap to the grid, which can be really useful, especially when you're building a scene from scratch and you want the walls to be kind of square and geometric. You can do that with snapping. Next, we have properties. So if we select a shot here, a camera, the properties panel will automatically open, or if it isn't open, you can open it by toggling it from up here. And I'm going to go through the properties panel in just a moment in full. Next up, we have the shot list. So that's all of our shots, and we can grab shots and reorder them. We can filter shots, so we could just see, for instance, if we had A and B camera shots, we could just see the A camera shots. We can also filter by status. So if we only want to see shots that are planned, not shots that have already been shot, we can see those here. And we can also renumber. So if we're still planning the shoot and we're moving shots around in order, we can renumber them based on the current order. So that will renumber the shot numbers based on the order that we've put them in. Or we can reorder them based on the shot numbers. So if we have moved stuff around and we actually want to go back to the original order as they are numbered, then we can reorder them based on the shot numbers. Hope that makes sense. Next up along the control bar, we have the timeline. So this is where we can move objects. So pretty much all objects are movable at the moment. That might change, but that's the way we've done it at the moment. And so, for instance, if we wanted to have this camera do a push-in, we would select the camera, open up the timeline. We would, hope you can't hear the dog growling in the background, sorry, somebody's at the door or outside, I think. We would select that camera, open up the timeline. In the timeline, then we can see that there is already a position at sort of timeline slot 1 for this camera. And we could then select slot 2 and click to add a position for that camera at slot 2. And then we can go back and forth between those two slots like this. And you can see where all the other items in the scene are at that position. So if we added a third position, we could say we want this camera to move, maybe it's a track sideways, I don't know why, and to pan round to there at position 3. And we can see at position 3, that's the only object that moves currently between positions 2 and 3. But we could come into this camera and we could add a position 3 for this camera, say over here. And again, we could pan that around anywhere we want. And now as we step through, we see that both those objects move between position 2 and 3. And you can add as many as you want. And we will be adding more features to the timeline. At the moment, we don't have a sort of hit play and it plays through the timeline control. That will be coming soon. And I'd love to hear from beta testers what else you'd like to see added to the timeline functionality. And so this little toggle next to timeline is for what we're calling ghosted positions. So if you have a time selected on the timeline, if you toggle off the ghost positions, it will turn off all the positions for objects that aren't at the currently selected timeline slot. So if you've got a very complicated scene and it's getting kind of messy and you just want to see a certain position in that scene, then you can turn off the ghost objects, is what we're calling it. Next, we have the background. So this is where we control our background image. So this is our sort of zoom slider up here in the top right. And we can obviously drag around on the canvas. We can reset to go back to the center of the canvas at 100% zoom. But yeah, here we can add our background. So if I remove the background and then I'll add it again. So I go to upload background, and then we could select our floor plan, and that will come in the background. And then we can edit the position, and that gives us a little handle right in the center of the image. So we have to go and find that, and then we could just move that in until it's lined up with our scene. Obviously, I did this the other way around in the beginning. We can move this around. And then I think what I want to do with this is set the opacity quite down low, so 10%. You could also go 50% if you want to see it a bit more. We can also rotate. We can reset it back to where it started off, which in this case is here. And we can scale it, so we could have a much smaller background. But in this case, it seemed to work quite well in terms of having enough space for the scene to have it at 100%. So that's where I left it. And yeah, I'll probably show you the reset now a little bit better. There we go. So that is backgrounds. The zoom controls we've already talked about a bit. And I can turn off edit position there. That doesn't automatically toggle off. So you do want to just untoggle that to get rid of that little handle for moving the background. So moving to the left-hand side, this is our quick add toolbar for adding objects. It's really, really quick to add shots into scenes. I really, really wanted to make that as few clicks as possible. So it's just one click to select the tool and then a click anywhere in the canvas to add a camera. You can then select the camera and you've got the tool to rotate and to scale, which is pretty much the same for any object. You can also duplicate it, and it'll duplicate it with all the information. So anything that we've added into that shot will be duplicated with it. And we've also got a delete there as well. Now, below shots, we can add actors. We've got our wall tool. So this is how we build walls. So we build all the points we need of the wall. And then we can tap up here in the top right, we can tap finish wall, or we could undo a point. Maybe we want to make an unusual shaped room. And then we can finish wall. And that will be a completed wall. And then with walls, we then tap on anywhere not at a corner, basically. So if you tap a corner, you'll get the control points, and you can move and adjust the walls. If you tap in the middle of a wall, then you get the ability to add a window, or add a door, and you can use these controls to turn around which way the door is facing. And again, these are by and large to scale with the grid system. So you can see there that's a 90 centimeter door at the moment, and that's pretty much lining up with 90 centimeters in the grid system. Okay, and we can come across here to the properties panel and delete that if we want to. Delete these just to keep it tidier. Then below that we have a sort of quick add of a light. So this just adds a Fresnel light. This might become a bit smarter later on, but I just wanted a quick way of adding a lighting object into the scene. If you're doing lighting diagrams, you're adding lots of lights. We'll figure out a way of maybe adding like the last lighting object rather than just the same one every time. But let me know what you think would be best for that. Below this, we can add. We've got some more options for camera, and we'll add more things into here, like probably cranes and jibs and that sort of thing. But from here, we can add a B camera, which really all that does is it just calls it a B camera. But we can also add a drone, so that gives it a different icon, and we'll add more things into this submenu. We've also got the lighting submenu, so from here we can add a Fresnel. We can add, at the moment, I've got like a sort of aperture or nan light style cob LED. We've got a 2x1 panel, like a sky panel or a vortex. We can add a VP wall, so this gives us a little dialogue. I do a lot of virtual production work personally, so I like to be able to add VP walls into my diagrams. So you could say, like, how many panels? Panels are almost always half a meter wide, and what's the curve? Mostly it's 3 degrees per meter or 5. Create that, and that'll give us an LED wall to exactly the size that we specified, and again on the sort of 1 meter grid. And finally, we can add truss. Again, this is going to get built out a lot more, but this was just a first step of adding kind of lighting diagram type stuff. So we can add truss in here that's 5 meters, and rotate that however we want. And then we've got props and furniture. So from here, we've got things like a TV we can add. I don't think that's to scale. We can add a tree. We can add a double bed. And all of these, as we'll see in a bit, all of these can be can have sort of information tagged to them that you can then surface in other views. And that's kind of the point of the app. Is like, if I was talking to the director and the director said, I want to do a shot under the bed, then on this bed I could add a tag that says needs to be high enough to shoot under. And then when I'm talking to the art department, I can find that information and make sure that I'm mentioning that to them when I'm talking to the art department. And that's kind of the core point of the app, is like, it's a really good place for just noting down all the information and keeping it organized in a way that it's like attached to the place you want it attached to, and you can find the information exactly when you need it. We also have a label system, which is quite useful. So we can just add a basic label, just write anything. Or we can also add a room label. So that can be quite useful. You can put in the dimensions. You've got options for metric or imperial. You can turn that off if you want. We've also got, you can kind of adapt what you want in terms of the style of it, however you like. And what I tend to do is when I start a project or start a plan, I'll set one of these up, and then I can just duplicate it from there on, and then it keeps the same style. It keeps the style for me, so I don't have to keep setting up that style again and again. We might come up with a way of saving favorites, maybe having sort of templates saved in future. Again, let me know how you'd like that to work, if you've got any opinions on that. We can do scene names. We've got that set up there. We can do like a little info one. So if we wanted to put in a little bit of information, to add a little tag onto something. And I like this one, which is notes. So we can add a little sticky note with a title. So and we can just leave that. So as I'm talking with a director, they might mention something, and I can just pop that into the onto the diagram, and know that later on I can come back and refer to it. We also have a bigger sort of pop out menu here, which has kind of everything. You can see like everything in one place. Again, as we're adding out a lot more into this system, this might be useful to be able to come in and search for whatever you're sort of looking for. So we could search for cop LED, we could search for bed and see all the bed objects, all that sort of thing. And then down at the bottom, you've got this recent items. So that'll be the 3 most recent objects that you've added to the canvas will appear down here, so you can kind of quick add them from there. Okay, that's the main canvas interface. So let's have a look a little bit more in depth at the properties panel. This is really the kind of heart of the information architecture of the app. We have lots of fields in here where we can add information. I've tried to make them fairly quick and easy to navigate, but again, would love feedback at this beta stage. So first of all, you can add, this is where you put your shot numbers in, so this will affect the order in the shot list, and we can name the shot up here. We can give it a color, so in this case I've given all the cameras a red color because they're sort of A camera, but if I thought maybe this one might be on B camera, so I've given that blue color. You also got a color picker here, so you can pick a custom color if you would like to. This is the status, so we can obviously change that as we're going through production, and we'll see some other places where we can kind of quickly check off shots to mark them as completed. Again, here we've got some options for camera names, Steadicam, etc. Here we can set the lens. This FOV option isn't enabled yet, but we will have an option to have a kind of like a cone that will show you based on your camera settings that will be sort of for project wide. You'll be able to set and visualize the field of view of the camera on the diagram, which I think could be really useful. And then you've got the slider for your focal length, and we can adjust it here. It's not actually working to type a number into the box yet. That will get fixed soon. We've then got the shot description, a script extract. I'd really like to hear how people are using this and whether there's ways we could make this easier for kind of copying and pasting in bits of the script, because I know some directors really like to attach certain shots to certain lines in the script. We've got a location box, so we can actually use our own location by clicking this little arrow here. Our current location, so if we want a recce, we could tag the location that we want to do a certain shot or a scene in. Or we can just type in a location. So if I put like Westminster Abbey, that will go into the map there, although central London has been causing some problems. So let's just try. Yeah, for some reason it's not loading central London. I'm not sure where that is. Or we can clear out the location and then we can enter it again. Next, we've got camera equipment. So we can really quickly add equipment, kind of tag this shot with certain equipment. So if we come across here, you can see we've got like a DOP stage. We could add a, let's say, dolly and soft wheels to that. And you'll see later on we can kind of export this information. Got a shot type thing here. This defaults to a medium. You don't have to change it. You can leave it. Allocated time just gives us a sort of, we may build out some more scheduling features in future, but right now it just kind of gives us an estimate of how long a scene is going to take to shoot based on the time allocated for all the shots within the scene. One of my favorite features, we've got reference and storyboard images here. So we can add, I think it's up to 6 reference images, which will populate our mood board view, and then up to 3 storyboard images, which will populate our storyboard view. So I'd love to hear if people think that's not enough images per shot, and how else people are using this kind of functionality, because I think this is one of the key things for me, is having really quick access on set to storyboard images, but also the director's reference images of like, this shot, I want it to feel like this, or I want the lighting to feel like this. I really want quick reference to that on set. And this is a really great way, I think, in the app of having that really quick reference. We've got advanced fields, so this can be toggled on and off. And advanced fields is just a bunch of places that you can add notes, basically. So if anybody would like more advanced fields, I'm very happy to hear what those would be and add those. But yeah, I just wanted to have plenty of place for adding in notes that you can come refer back to later on. And then right at the bottom, we have the ability to select the layer, as I said, so we could change this camera over to the scene layer. And we also have the ability to show the label. So I probably would, for most shots, want to leave the label on. It defaults to on. And then you can select whether you want it to go above or below the icon, whether it's close, medium, or far away, left or right. You can kind of adapt where you want the label to sit. And then right at the bottom, we've got a delete element button. And with shots that have got multiple positions, the little delete key that hovers radially over the icon, that'll actually just delete the currently highlighted position. It won't delete the whole object. If we want to delete the whole object, we can go to the properties panel and hit delete, it will delete it once we get back to just one position left. Then we can delete the whole camera with the delete key, just like that. And there isn't currently an undo system, so do be careful when deleting things from the app. Okay, so let's check out the other views. So this is canvas view. We then have scene overview view, which is maybe not the greatest name. And within this view, we have a mini canvas. So if we, this zooming to shots is not working at the moment, but what we will be able to do is hit either shots or all, and it will zoom to fit either just all the shots or all of the elements in the canvas within this little mini map. We've then got this location details, and within that we can add recce photos. So you can add your shots from your recce in there. We have the story time of day. We can set that. We can set which shoot day this is going to be shot on of the schedule once we have a schedule, and we can select which day that's actually going to be on. And if we hit update, that'll give us our sunrise and sunset times, and just down here we can open up and see our golden hour times. And because we've put in some times against the shots back in the canvas, we get an estimated scene shooting time. Up here we get our shot list. So this is currently in the shot number order. But if we hit this toggle to go to custom, we can then drag and reorder the shots within this view, which can be really useful sort of on set to be able to do that. And once we've completed a shot, we can tick it off here, and that will change its status to completed. And we can also have a look at our equipment for each shot in here. So if we hold down on the little equipment button here, we get the equipment that's needed for that shot highlighted. So that could be a quick way of seeing, like, oh, this is the crane shot, this is the dolly shot, this one needs a DOP to see what's coming up, kind of thing. We've also got scene notes down here. So that, again, this is just a really quick place that, especially in prep, it's a good way of just noting down some information from the director. And we've got some little templates, so we could put in some safety notes if we had notes on safety for this scene. We could put in some, if we're the director, we can put in some notes that we want to there. It's just some kind of ideas of what you might put in as notes, basically. And on Mac, we can pop this out into its own window and resize it. And this is like the way I like to work in prep, is to pop the sub windows out into their own windows and then have like a big view on a big screen of everything that I'm working on. And we can also jump between views here, and that will jump us back to the main canvas. But it will also leave open the scene overview view as well. So we can close that window there. And now we're in shots view. So shots view, again, on Mac, it is better kind of popped out and as big as you can get it on the screen. And on iPad, it will just kind of fill the full screen. And this will give us 5 shots at a time. And this is what I tend to use when I'm kind of working through, reading through the script, and I just want to like put all the information down, just get it out of my head, get it onto the page, and make sure I'm just writing all my notes down. This is like my kind of note-taking view, because I can just grab all the advanced fields. I can add all of my reference images, my storyboard images, all that kind of thing. This is like my sort of workhorse data entry, like writing everything down kind of view, is this shots view. So now the fun stuff. So storyboard view. So I love this view on set. I think this is really, really useful on set for tracking your day, basically, because we can view the whole project from here, not just the individual scene. We can see the whole project if we want to, or just scene by scene. And we can sort the order by the shot number. So again, as I said, in the shot list view, we've either ordered it by the shot number that's been saved, or by list order. So if we had changed that shot list order in the shot list or in the scene overview view, we can view that list order here. And then we can just go through and we can kind of just see all the essential information. We can see our storyboard, we can see our description, our script extract if we've got one, our equipment, our lens for this shot, and the time that's been allocated to it. And it's just really quick way of just seeing that. Really all I want to see is the storyboard, what lens did I think I was going to shoot it on, and then tap it off as I go through. And I find this a really, really good view to have on set. And we can also, from here, we can export our storyboards as a PDF as well if we want to share that with the ADs or whoever else wants it as a PDF. And again, we can pop this out into its own window. Hope you're still with me. We're nearly there. So the final view we're going to look at is the mood board view. For me, this is just a really great way of having really quick reference for mine and the director's visual intent and our inspirations and references. Just a really good, quick way of organising all of those shot deck images that we've gone and found in prep. So we can hit edit, and then from here we can basically drag and drop stuff to different shots. So if I think like, oh, actually, I've got a couple of shots assigned to a couple of references assigned to shot 2, but actually I've added another shot now which is more specifically to do with that reference. I can just drag that and drop it onto that shot, and it will move itself over there. I'll put that back how it was. And again, we can export from here and export our mood board with various options for layouts. And I think that's kind of it. There is various other little hidden features and sort of Easter eggs in the app, but I'm going to leave it there for this video. I'm aware it's probably gone on quite a while, but hopefully that's given you a good grounding in how to navigate the app. And I'm really excited to see what people create with it. I'd love it if you could share your creations, your canvases. We have an Instagram now, shot.pad. So please tag us as you're sharing stuff. And yeah, feel free to share any problems with me, screenshot stuff. There is a way in the app with Test Flight where you can take a screenshot if you just screenshot it with a normal way on iPad. And then when you share it, it'll give you an option to share that with the developer. And that's a really helpful way of us seeing when there's issues in the app. There is a bunch of issues we're gradually working through and fixing bugs. But yeah, we'd love to hear about them from you as well. And yeah, thanks very much for watching. And we really hope you enjoy the app.